Hello, everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our Cross Retail Talks. Hello, everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our Cross Retail Talks. And I'm very pleased that so many everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very pleased that so many everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome to another edition of our and I'm very sorry about everybody from Vienna, and a warm welcome happy to be here in this round.
Super interesting, and I'm 100% sure we will come back to the examples you have mentioned already. For very first time, in the middle of the screen, we have a profound professor. It's Christian Buhr. We know each other for quite a while. He has 3 heads on his head, and why it is the case, he will give us a sign. Christian, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here and being invited as well. The one hat is, as you said, it's the title of the Professor of Hospitality and Tourism in the Heilbronn University, which is nearby your home. And the second hat is my consulting business, which I do with the global activities with Harvard HTL worldwide. We are covering Germany, Austria, and Switzerland with my team. And the third one, I enforce the young people to get entrepreneurs. So we started a little hotel company called Nemes Hotels, where we want to get in the young people having the opportunity, running their own business in there and starting up and taking over maybe one or two of the franchise hotels. Franchise partners we have in there is with Marriott mainly. We do the Moxies and some, I would not say the selected brands. It's more in the economy, less of restaurant, but it's always something which we want to enforce that the next generation will stay with us in the branch.
Super. So you're not only teaching it, you're also practicing it. And that is the reason why you're here. Thanks for being with us today, Christian. With great pleasure, I have Thorsten Kuttig with me, a long-term colleague. We won't say old or matured, but maybe somehow matured. Thorsten, you are now responsible after being for quite a while in the retail development part at ECE Work and Live. And there are several things to be said. What are you doing at the moment within ECE? Please give us a sign.
Yeah, thanks, Klaus, and good afternoon to all of you out there. Yeah, as you said, my name is Thorsten Kuttig, and I represent ECE Work and Live from Hamburg as their director for hotel developments. In addition to hotels, at ECE Work and Live, we develop residential, logistics, and also offices. But in today's context, as you mentioned, it's of course also important to mention within our ECE group, our sister company, ECE Marketplaces, with CEO Joanna Fischer, and you know this team very well, Klaus. ECE Marketplaces takes care of a large shopping center portfolio within our house, starting from leasing, refurbishment, up to long-term center management. And before, as you mentioned, I moved within ECE into hotel development about 12 years ago. I worked in various roles in shopping center development for about 20 years. So today, I'm talking about two asset classes for which I feel a great passion and whose symbiosis I would like to further advance within ECE, together with our interdisciplinary teams, also together with all of you. And I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
Super. The good thing is there's also already a long track record of retail and hotel development. So it's nothing new we have to discuss. And last but not least, absolutely not, is Andreas Löcher from Union Investment, one of the biggest investors in the hotel market. Andreas, a warm welcome too, and please give us all a little insight about Union Investment's engagement.
Thanks, Klaus, for the introduction, and thanks for having me here participating in the panel. Yes, I've been with Union the last 14 years, majorly building up the hotel investment topic, and we've recently found a new department, the so-called operational real estate department, which basically bundles hotel and retail assets under one roof. So this perfectly fits, of course, into the scene here. And maybe one word on Union Investment Real Estate. It's the fund company of the corporate banks in Germany, and we basically are responsible for the acquisitions and sales for retail and institutional funds within our company.
Super. Thanks for being with us, and let's get started. So as already mentioned, we are faced so far with a huge number of challenges in the market. Many people say we have a combined number of crises. So I would love to start with 2-3 starting questions like, has the hotel industry bounced back meanwhile? Has it recovered? We are all in touch with hotels when we are traveling. What is the current status for the operators or the investor? How is the customer reacting? Let's have a view on that. And how about, let's say, price developments and costs, rents, construction prices, all that stuff in addition. So first of all, market, customer, and operational view. Elena, would you love to start?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start with the question on the recovery. So I guess that the operational recovery is far advanced in most markets, especially leisure-driven destinations. KPIs are at or even above pre-pandemic levels, I would say, speaking for Ruby, that means that, for example, the average room rate in 2023 was around 26% above 2019 levels. If we compare today's values, so 24 values, I think that's even higher. Occupancy is still lagging behind a little bit, but we're still very positive because the overall combined KPI, so the revenue per available room, is definitely above pre-pandemic level. I think what is interesting to see is because last year we were talking a lot about this phenomenon revenge travel, meaning that a lot of people wanted to go out again, wanted to travel, catch up on all the things that they missed during the pandemic. To what level will this RevPAR growth really normalize? I think that will be the question this year and the following year. But yeah, looking also at the international long haul tourists from Asia and US, I think the outlook is very positive.
Sounds promising. Christian, yeah, I saw you smiling. What's your impression? What's your view on that?
Well, I love this discussion always going on KPIs. We always speak about revenue, but I was wondering maybe if Elena could tell me what the profit has been changing in accordance to previous. Are you having a higher profit or not? I mean, the end of the day, we don't bring percentages to the banks, we bring cash to the bank. What is your experience there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those challenges like increased operational costs, increased energy cost, that is a topic and a challenge for us. And we have to also take that into consideration in our business cases for new projects. I think what is helpful is that, for example, looking at energy prices, we always work with 100% green electricity. So the prices didn't skyrocket as much maybe as compared to other sources. And you have to think of how you can maybe reorganize your organizational structure to keep your costs under control. I totally agree with you on that point. And I think that's also something the pandemic has shown, right? Our ability to adapt. And that for some hoteliers means automating or centralizing functions in order to keep those costs under control.
So concerning profits, you mean less relaxed but still relaxed, or how could we, let's say, interpret it?
Yeah, definitely still relaxed. There is an effect, no doubt at all. But we're still confident and positive. Yeah.
Christian, please go ahead.
No, but please don't forget we're the €100 country, okay? Which means people don't want to spend more than €100 for a night, and that's not given by the people themselves. It's mostly by the companies that don't want to have high travel expenses.
It's now 200 actually, Christian. Yeah. It's not 100 again. It's 200 now.
Okay, Andreas, can you ask Telecom to and Siemens go over their contracts?
Yeah, we'll do. Yes. Sorry.
Will you ask to go back to Deutschmark? No. Joking. No. The thing is, it's the one reason of challenges, and that's also my believing that's the reason we have the existing hoteliers, but the market bounces back. I mean, it comes back. It comes slowly back. The only and one of the most issues which we recognize is that the pickup rate meets for all of the short notice rate when they book a hotel. It's not anymore the discussion about the price, but they do it 24 hours before. We have about 70% of the bookings comes, of course, if trade fairs or something is this week's not, Oktoberfest or whatever. But if you take the regular business, it's so on short notice at the moment. This is something that you have a day where it goes up to 90% occupancy, and the next day you're back to 40. And you say, what happens? And this it's hard to measure, which means for the hoteliers and all those ones who have to plan their business, it's not as easy to plan it. It's the question: how many employees do you need? When do you put them in? We want to do it family friendly. All these soft skill facts which we have to focus as well, which influence in the end of the day the profit.
Has this become tougher? Has this become tougher or harder compared to the past? Because it's not that predictable any longer.
What do you mean? What is getting tougher? The management before to handle
the
occupancy?
short-term calculations or the short-term bookings, as I understood. That means that you can't really predict or let's say have an outlook in calculation what comes next week for income, or how can you, let's say, organize and plan staffing, all that stuff.
Well, maybe Elena can give the better answer how Ruby is doing it. My experience is you have to change the indicators. You cannot take anymore the classical indicators which we had before in revenue management. You have to take them still, but you have to add something. And at the end of the day, sometimes you cannot measure it. That's my experience. We done some analysis with 10 hotels, and at the end of the day, they were lost. So which comes to the point which Elena said, you have to adapt processes. You have to rethink your business you're doing. And the good thing is of Ruby Hotels, they're already prepared for this from the beginning since the brand has been established. But what is a full service hotel doing? That's the challenge in the future. What is going to be with all these mid-scale and upscale brands, which maybe Andreas and Torsten will have a better view on it in terms of their portfolio. I think the selected and the lean luxury brands, they're very well established for this development.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen with the other ones?
Yeah, I agree with that, Christian, and that's exactly right. And I think Ruby is doing quite well, to be honest, coming out of a crisis as more an economy hotel segment concept with relatively cost basis, which is smaller or slimmer in comparison to full service hotels. And I would also say that particularly on the lower end on the lower end in economy and budget hotels, the world is rosier than in the mid-market. It's also rosier in the upper upscale or luxury, even ultra luxury element, because the price sensitivity of the guest is lower here. So therefore, the guest maybe also be prepared just to pay the much higher prices in order to also still get to a good bottom line. So there is a certain polarization here, I would think. Real very well defined areas of hotel concepts on the lower end, on the upper end, which are doing better than the one in the middle. And there is actually the first similarity also, when looking to retail. You've got probably the same trends here, where you look at fast fashion, which is really en vogue, which the customer is looking for, and on the other end, the ultra luxury shops in Paris, Champs-Élysées, and wherever they may be located, Versace, Gucci, whatever, these are also in demand. So therefore, I would think there is a similarity in these two asset classes here.
If I understood you right, that means that we have a much tighter target group. We have to be much more sensitive with pricing all the offers. Means we have to be much more cautious in choosing the right location, the right brand, the right size, whatever it is, right?
That's exactly right, Klaus. You do have to be very precise on what you're focusing on, and if you're in the mid market, you can do that, but then you have to offer certain USPs and still look at the cost sides, particular personnel costs. They've been rising tremendously over the last years. So the personnel costs are really one of the decisive factors, and some shops just can't be led again because there is a lack of personnel, and you can here or there. It's not, you can't see it everywhere, but here and there you can find examples where shops can't be open because you haven't got the employees. On the same side, on the hotels, you may even not rent out all hotel rooms. I wouldn't think this is the case for Ruby, but I've heard of cases, where hotels close down, shut down a certain number of hotel rooms just in order to cope with the personnel topic. Not only the pricing here or the cost factor, but also even the availability per se.
Got it. Let's talk with Thorsten about that, because if he hears that as a developer, which location, which offer, which size, which project could be developed by you, Thorsten, at that stage. What is your recommendation if you talk to Elena, to Christian, or to Andreas as a developer, because you have to sell something, right?
Of course, we have the buyer is on my screen is right under me, Andreas. He's always the investor behind me, or some of his colleagues from other companies. And of course, we develop our projects, or we look for projects to develop in order to sell them to investors later. And everything that you discussed before, I was very carefully listening about the 100 euro country and the locations, the markets that we're looking at. Of course, concerning the 100 euro country, there's a reason that, for example, we are looking on European cities and major European cities where we can discuss different room rates. And of course, as a developer, for us, it's very important to have a strong operator who's able to get good room rates, but also has good operational costs in order to pay a good rent to us. And this good rent for us is important to have to be able to persuade the investor and to tell him it's a great product you can buy in Rome or in Copenhagen or in major German cities as well, of course. So a close look on the market. How's the market situation? What are the competitors doing? And nowadays, developing from the point of view of greenfield development, I started hotel developments as greenfield developments, and nowadays it's nearly impossible to do greenfield or new developments because you have ESG, you have a lack of available space, and when you concentrate on existing buildings, which brings us closer to integrate hotels and shopping centers, but if you start thinking about existing buildings, you need operators who are flexible, who can maximize the number of rooms, because shopping center developers try to maximize the sales area and the lettable area, and we try to maximize the number of rooms that we can offer to the operator. And for each rooms, the operator has to pay a good rent to us. So this is our point of view on development and on the current hotel market.
And lower the common area for sure to make it run, because the funny thing is that you are charging the rent per room, not per square meter, which makes more sense, and which is a kind of, let's say, pressure. Let's talk about locations, because you mentioned that the greenfield development is not that easy. Christian, I know that you have some experience in so-called greenfield areas next to Heilbronn area, if I may spoil that. How do we see that topic before I change to Elena, because she has I think a different view on that?
Well, I'm focusing on we always make A, B, C, D, E, F, X, okay, and we enhance now from A, B, C to D, and I believe on these so-called D locations if they are in economic strong region.
Name a D location. Define a D location, please, for our audience.
The one where we are with it's like the Hunsrück-Simmern. It could be like where we are in the Hohenlohe, next to Würth. Kupferzell is the place where we are, where we have the hidden champions in Germany, and we have many of these places there where we think, okay, let's do it there. Where the reason is quite simple, because I get my young people inside and enforced to take more responsibility. These are very much bounded to what is the business there. I always compare Germany in the hotel industry like a car producer. If you produce many cars, you as a tire, and that's the hotel industry producer, will have enough demand in the hotels. Okay, if the business works well, and if we get a good economy and we sell a lot of cars, the tire producer will sell a lot of tires. And that's exactly the same in the hotel industry. So what I analyzed about many years ago already, that these so-called C and D locations are less in economic change, are less influenced than the one in A. If the economy goes down, those locations are quite stable, but they never get this huge upside. Okay. When you have a hotel in Hamburg or in Munich or in Frankfurt, where you go up to 70, 78% occupancy, you can go in there. This you will not get in this location for, I'm speaking through all out the year. You have a stable business there, but it's not giving you a strength. The only thing which is in these locations, it's less systemized hotels there. It's the private hotel running it. I always say the Gasthof to whatever. Yeah, it's special there, and there is the gap which we can learn out of UK, that on the US, that a systemizing process there could give a higher return of investment. But now the biggest difference only is, as Torsten said, the greenfield development, the construction costs are okay. They're not that expensive because you have not surrounding if you build a house in Frankfurt, okay, which you have to take care. But by the concrete is exact the same price. Doesn't matter where you deliver it. It's more or less the same price. The landscape is cheaper, and therefore you can make a higher return of investment. But it would be not, I assume, not interesting for Andreas, because the unit volume is something between 10 to 12 million euro. Is not interesting for them to take them into the portfolio. So we will
ask him. We will ask him in a few seconds. But Elena, how do you see that? That's a total different approach, because what you've mentioned is Moxie in that tiny little cities on that status. I don't know whether Moxie and Ruby could be compared somehow. A little overlap. Elena, your location types are quite different. Or what is your view?
Yeah, absolutely. So with lean luxury, a very critical element of our concept are those central locations in the big European metropolis. And I agree with you, Christian, that land prices are probably lower and construction prices are still the same. So the yield might be better for someone to go into those DEF cities. For us, that is just such a crucial element, those European metropolis with high demand generators, that we wouldn't go away from this concept. I think we as an operator have to have this clear focus on the niche and our concept, and we have to just find other ways to still make the numbers work for developers, investors. And for us is the most important, I think, lever when we plan a Ruby hotel. For example, our high space efficiency, which Torsten already mentioned as one of the factors, that we just try to maximize key count on a given space and thereby also increase the rental income for the owner. And that's also one of the reasons why we focused a lot on office conversions in the past. As Torsten said, there are barely any sites available in the city center of, I don't know, London, Amsterdam. And it also brings advantages with it to look at existing spaces, also in the interest of sustainability and repurposing maybe spaces that do not work anymore with the current use.
So I think there's always two sides on the medal. On the one hand, it's saying there's a kind of a risk which is higher in the city or with the higher costs or development costs. On the other side, it's a stable business on the countryside, call it like this. Andreas, where to invest? What will Union do? Will Union follow Christian's commendations or Elena's commendations, just to have a kind of polarization at the moment?
Thanks, Klaus. Just have a guess, but basically, if you already said it, I do appreciate third and quaternary locations, which definitely have their justification, but this is not our turf. We more follow Elena into their regions, and why is this? Is of course bigger sized hotels. That's something which is of importance for us to have a certain volume, critical volume, which we need to see. We regard these markets as a bit more liquid, so there should be easier. Maybe not. It's not easy in this market phase at all, but as a general rule, in primary locations in these big gateway cities. Hotels and also retail assets are more liquid and easier to sell and buy. So therefore, these are the main factors, and basically these markets are more elastic, also price elastic. Of course, in a downturn there may be a more immediate when we looked at COVID, particularly in the gateway cities, early reacting real estate type, early cyclical real estate type coming down tremendously in the first instance, but then getting out of the valley relatively quickly, and then now climbing up the ADR ladder in a relatively fast pace, which tells us there is elasticity in these markets. There is way to grow. There is also, of course, now with the reduced development pipelines, Thorsten has pointed out that, of course, more and more getting a lack of new supply, which then again will, in the mid to long term, then having a positive effect on the price development in the hotel itself, but also the price per key when you buy or sell a hotel.
And sorry, Klaus, as I'm sitting between, at least on my screen here, between Andreas and Elena, from the developer's point of view, it's the same thinking. We focus on strong markets. I mentioned European capitals already, but during and after COVID, we've seen hotel concepts which hasn't been mentioned so far. We've had business hotels, and we have leisure hotels coming up more and more, and everybody is looking more and more, the developers, the investors, the operators, on leisure locations. But I don't want to talk about leisure locations. I just want to bring these aspects together, because looking on major cities, looking on major European cities means you have a good mixture of business travelers and leisure travelers. And even especially COVID showed us that cities in Germany, let's stay in Germany, like Hamburg, Munich, Berlin, with high touristic visit or tourism, they didn't have these problems as business cities like Frankfurt or Düsseldorf, Cologne, relying on fairs and on business. So this will be one aspect of the focus, and this will also be the aspect of bringing retail and hotel together. How can you benefit from these aspects and bringing customers from the retail side and visitors from the hotel side together? So that's why this is a strong focus on just looking on hotels as well.
Absolutely, got it. So let's remain a little bit on location, but let's swing a little bit on the retail area. So we talk about location types like downtown areas or capital cities. When adding retail to the hotel industry, that's also a very, very long-term discussion, because we know from lots of old, mature, big shopping malls that there's always a combination with hotels. And a kind of a mixed use element from the very beginning. So mixed use is nothing new, it's something old. But is a combination of retail and hotel, or the retail activity and hotel, really a less risky asset or real estate? Is then a better stability in income? So we learned from Christian that also on the out of town area, it's a kind of stable business. Is it much more stable if you add some retail activities on it? Or is it a matter of diversification, which could lead to better profitability if you have a more dense development in that area? So a question which could occur. I've also already discussed the example of Ruby in Stuttgart, where the change of a mall, which is an interesting example, where retail is reduced and hotel is added. Elena, I think the offer was that there is space in addition to a very dense area, including residential areas, etc. If there are more offers like this on your desk, how would you behave?
You mean in Stuttgart or in general? I mean, we would definitely like to pursue more opportunities like that. Because when we first looked at the Gerber, we saw, of course, the vacancy in that shopping mall, and we directly had a discussion with the owner to see what might be a future potential of this whole property. And he back then saw it as like a modern urban quarter or area, because nowadays there are, I think, 11 users in one property. There is a child day care, or how you want to call it, in very close proximity. And adding and then another component of hotel, totally makes sense for the overall strategy of the property. And for us, this one was really a milestone. I mean, we've done so many office conversions in the past, and we also have, I think, 2 hotels in the middle of shopping malls in Düsseldorf, in Ruby Coco, or in Geneva. But that was also a conversion of former office spaces. Now in Stuttgart, we had to deal with those typical challenges that you would find in a shopping mall. So extra deep spaces of over 90 meters. And also, only limited natural light or exposure. So we developed a completely new room type for this kind of conversion. And having I think we already have over 100 different room geometries to play with for all the office conversions. But here, this really, was something new for us. So to create a room type that can cater for these very, very deep spaces.
So higher challenges in design architecture on the one hand, on the other side, there's lots of space available. But what is the real upside for you as an operator being on a spot dominated by retail? Is there an upside? Or is there an additional income possible that makes this asset a bit more valuable?
I mean, there are many synergies. I think it's not only about creating more revenues, but it's also about creating a higher satisfaction for our guests. And as we, with our lean luxury concept, have a very lean concept, the advantage of being in a mixed-use property is above all to offer our guests a wider range of services. So they only pay for what they really need and want. And same applies to our employees, for example. They really enjoy being in Stuttgart, in the Gerber, having very convenient options for lunch. They are able to have a doctor's appointment on site, go to the gym. So also on that side, that helps. So it's not really only about creating more revenues, but also just increasing customer satisfaction and loyalty.
Mm-hmm. But let me stick a little bit on this revenue topic. So if there is a chance for, let's say, more spendings, for maybe a higher room rate, a better efficiency rate, staff is much more happy. I think there is a kind of, let's say, upside possible, and maybe also a higher rent.
I mean, of course, when it comes to the rent, it all depends on the space efficiency and how we plan our properties in there. But also what we see in Stuttgart now is that people from the shopping mall come to our public areas and have a drink after being in the shopping mall all day, or they start with a breakfast in our space and then go to the shopping mall and do their whatever grocery shoppings. So definitely there can be additional revenues. Yeah.
Christian, when Thorsten would offer you some more spaces in his mall portfolio from ECE, how many of your hotel brands would you open in malls with Thorsten?
It's always I would do. There's no limitation, Thorsten. We can start now. The matter.
Will you ask me the same question, Klaus, later, or can I prepare?
Ask Andreas where you want to invest.
It's the matter what kind of return. Elena just addressed it, higher rent. The matter is, what is the space you're taking over and what could be the added value behind of it? For me, an international brand in a multi-purpose or a building is that you can combine it perfectly. My belief is we've done such a project which never been realized because of political change in Stuttgart those days. We wanted to have a luxury brand, but starting on the first floor and not on the ground floor. So like Ruby does it always. And then you have the most expensive area on the ground floor. My belief is in destinations where you have tourism demand, like we discussed previous in terms, Thorsten said leisure, it's more the tourism going there. I mean, we have a huge VAT return figure in there. People come to Germany and go to the city and they want to go for shopping. By the way, I believe all of us, even the audience, if they go for a destination, they at least go for shopping as well. They want to take something from there which they can remember. So come back to your question. Whenever the space is available, it makes sense. I don't need this prime entrance area and all this. I can put it upstairs and be more efficient, like Ruby is doing as well. So I would go there for no limit if the market is there for any demand. Just to put a hotel there because the space is left, it has to make sense.
That was super. So Thorsten, what is your additional comment on that?
Well, starting with the final comment, I don't need an entrance in the ground level. You have a huge entrance area. You have a huge shopping center and mall as an interesting entrance area, or the other way around. Your visitors leave the hotel.
I don't need a hotel lobby. It's empty, 6 meters high, and nobody.
I know what you mean. And in the end, we need operators thinking like that. That they say we don't need this entrance area and public area. We need taxis to stop just in front of our entrance, because the positive aspect of being part of a shopping center are different ones. You have a lot of infrastructure already there. You have parking, you have technical infrastructure, you have all the shopping center facilities, not only the shops but also the service areas, and the other way around, of course. I mean, in the beginning, as a developer, you start thinking about how many rooms, which rent will you pay, but from the operational side, and our colleagues who manage the shopping center, of course, they are looking on the benefits from each partner. So, for example, having a good hotel operator who's bringing additional facilities like a spa, like a nice restaurant, so that will have a result on the turnovers on both sides again, because people stay longer in the hotel, stay longer in the shopping center, and that are the benefits that we are heading for, thinking about shopping centers and hotels in combination.
Thanks for that.
May I add something? Yeah. I would add something. Thorsten, you mentioned people asking always how many parking slots we need for the hotel. Okay, there's one. Normally we say one car by one thing. I said I don't need them for the hotel as long you have them available or public. When I was responsible for, with Arabella Hotels, with Arabella Sheraton, I tried to get rid of this parking responsibility, because you hate this discussion that somebody smashed my car and all this. Give it over to a third party. There are specialists in there. They're big companies stating with an A or a C. They do this perfectly in Germany. As long as we can say there's a public parking space available there, and that's what I think in future development, you have to focus on these modules in the building like this. You say, okay, guys, you are the hotel. This is the delivery area you need for food, beverage, and waste and everything like this. This is the entrance area. This is the perfect retail area. And then you have some parking space, which everybody needs to cover. But the interesting thing is, when you discuss this with the authorities giving the permission for this, some of them do not understand that you have an overlapping of parking. Yeah. And they say, yeah, but what happens 8 o'clock in the morning when all your guests are parking and all the other ones need it? Yeah. And such stupid discussions are coming up. So making a long story short, I think development, doesn't matter which one, in greenfield or brownfield, in the future can only be a win-win-win situation, including investors and developers and hoteliers and all, if you tighten the building, if you make it lean, sorry taking this word, Elena, make it lean, make it more profitable on the space per square meter at the end of the day.
That's a very good middle wrap-up, because that's what I want to hear, that collaboration among the users, among the stakeholders, will lead to an extra profit. And I'm sure that Andreas will invest in this kind of assets. If there is a combination like this or a synergy like this. Is it the case? Or is there
definitely? And Elena, I think maybe just right after this session, we'll be having a chat on rental levels, and we love to have an increase here and through an optimized operation. So that's always welcome to have that discussion going on. But well, having said this, historically, if you're looking at cities like Berlin, we have at Berlin Alexanderplatz, for instance, we've got a shopping center here, which is the Alexa, which is extremely successful with high footfalls. And then on the other side, we have the Hampton by Hilton here, also now one of our big open-ended funds, which is also very successful. So basically, you see you've got really big hotel and retail assets, and in a way they really are creating synergies, not directly but somehow indirectly, in order to really create this neighborhood. And this is historically where you've got basically two different buildings, two different assets. You may also have a look at Maria Hilfer Straße in Vienna, where you've got a Ruby Hotel. I think that's correct, Elena.
Yes,
which is also helping getting the area a bit livelier in the evening, people going out and not just getting the pedestrian zone being not really having any frequency in later hours, just to keep it lively in later hours of the day. So having said this, you now come to the fact that you can combine the real estate and having on the ground floor, as we've said and discussed with Klaus and Christian, that it's perfectly fine if you're on the ground floor, as in our Munich Riem P&C shop. We put a Motor One on top, where you can basically make use of the space and basically even have better energy rates, because you have it under one roof. This also helps you. You can, as we've already discussed, optimize the utilization of this parking spot. The guest who disappears in the morning at 8 or 9, Christian, whenever, leaves vacant that space for the shopping guest, getting in at 10 or 11 or whenever. So there are many synergies here, from real estate, from operational, and we can also learn from each other, actually. Yeah.
That sounds very good. We come back to that. We have the first question from the audience, I have to say, and stick with Andreas, because the question is, I read it, is there a big difference between the spread of development yields versus exit yields cap rate of an A location compared to a D location for hotels? Is it something you could answer, or is it a secret to be answered? Or how big, or is there a big spread between that location types? What's your point of view?
There is definitely, we've mentioned the reason. There is definitely a very big gap. I don't know if we can talk about D or maybe at least B or C. Yeah. But these locations are a bit more, I don't want to see it negatively, but they are a bit more remote, having less demand generators, maybe more focused on certain generators, and therefore maybe in a way are yielded at a higher rate. And I would even say at the moment, development deeds are hard at all, and even harder for CRD locations. So there is
0.5? Is it 1%, 2%? Could you give a number?
To be honest, at the moment, I can't see any development deal in that area. So therefore, it's just too tough to define any theoretical spread here between A and D.
Yeah, okay, super. The next question was, I read it again, that's a good question. According to your experience, that sticks to the operators, what is the average cross-visitation between a hotel and a shopping mall, as well as both are located outside a city center without natural tourist flow? Do you have any best practice in terms of cross-marketing activities between a mall and hotels, as I understand, and which benefit both parties if it's out of town? Elena or Christian, do you have an idea or a best practice model in front of your eyes?
I mean, I don't have any specific numbers on the average cross visitation between hotel and a shopping mall, but what we do see, and what I said earlier, is that there is a higher foot traffic generated from the mall to the hotel and the other way around. I think there are several cross promotions or corporations that you can see. For example, you were talking about a parking garage earlier. I think that is a huge topic for us as well. In Stuttgart, we have this cooperation where the parking garage operator gets a higher potential number of guests and maximizes the occupancy of its parking garage, and our guests on the other hand get a 25% discount. So I like this idea of this modular system of leaving the different functions to the people who are really good at that. And what we also see in Stuttgart is that smaller retail shops in the surrounding area, so that are not really part of the shopping center, but are in very close proximity, also experience a higher sales. And I think that is something very positive, that not only the tenants in that property really benefit from the mixed use, but also the whole area experience an upgrade.
So I understand that there is an existing, let's say, synergy on the one hand, not really measured, but could also be improved?
The measurement, I think so, yeah, definitely.
Okay, Thorsten, if it comes to that discussion about the yields from a developer's point of view, so still on A locations, as Andrea said, this is maybe a much better yield structure, or do you also, let's say, follow up with B, C, or D locations? I only have read Rome, Copenhagen, whatever it is, not Kupferzell so far. Kupferzell is, for the spoiler, is the Moxie of Christian close by.
Well, if you think about these different locations, you first start discussing with the operators, would you be interested in opening up a hotel in this location? And if they say yes or maybe, then you may be starting pre-discussions with the investors and asking what they would pay for a location like that. And in the end, it comes out that nowadays, even in A locations, the prices have go down, I would say, dramatically compared to 2 to 3 years ago. We are facing much lower purchase prices for hotel developments or for new hotels or refurbished hotels. So for the moment, with all these other factors, building costs, financing costs, purchase price, and the combination of looking for locations who are good for business as well as for leisure, for the moment, it's only a location concerning business and retail and leisure. And if we talk about leisure locations, even that must be very good locations where nobody has a question about the seasonability of the location and other different aspects.
So we leave it to Christian at the moment to do these locations, which are so-called D, but from his point of view, very stable, very predictable, and very safe.
And you have to look for local investors who have a specific interest to have a hotel. This is but this has nothing to do with actual construction cost pricing. It's something which the past 10 years already has been. These locations are less interest for institutional investors in the bigger part, not even for the development. If Thorsten starts a development there, it can be only most efficient for him to do if he copy and pastes an existing development there and say, we do exactly the same, and getting economics of scale out of this. My belief is clear. Or Thorsten, yes?
Copy and paste is the past. We don't have any copy and paste anymore.
We have to come back to be more efficient in development and in construction now.
No, but if we talk about existing buildings, and I have to add to my answer before, I'm talking about just hotel developments, but talking about adding hotels to shopping centers, of course, then we are not only talking about Rome and Copenhagen, then we are also talking about B and C cities, and then you have to discuss and to look on the markets and who could be the right operator to be a benefit for the shopping center and a benefit for the location around as well. So there will be a difference, and of course we have some shopping centers from our portfolio in mind which are not in A cities, but maybe in B cities, and there are good chances to make positive profits for the existing investors in these locations.
Sounds promising, sounds good. A last operational question before we come to the last round. So we talked about KPI so far. So what I see is that shopping malls are a little bit more finance KPI driven. Outlet centers, one of our topics from the last talks, are a little bit more, let's say, retail numbers driven. Hotels, maybe or mainly are customer performance driven, or call it CPI. Elena, what is the best KPI from your point of view? What would you prefer? The more finance-driven KPIs, the more customer-driven KPI, or a mix out of all? How do you see that to measure and to evaluate your activities?
I think it's always a combination of both. So of course, we're working with very standard and hard performance indicators, like average room rate and occupancy and all of that. But in the end, there are many more KPIs, as you just mentioned, more customer-focused ones. We are working at Ruby with a system that collects all different reviews on all 140 websites online and sums that up in one global review index, for example, to show the satisfaction of our customers and guests, also against a fixed set of competitors. And for us, I guess the very important, if you call it CPI, is the Net Promoter Score, we call it. And that basically asks the question, would you recommend this hotel to guests, to colleagues, to friends, to family? And then, of course, it doesn't help if you have only the reviews and the numbers. You also have to do something with that. So we have, for example, standardized process of how we work with those evaluations. So there's an own dedicated team answering those reviews, creating reports, highlighting the different topics that we need to work on. And then there are discussions also on executive board level to see how we can improve and continuously adapt our concept to new customer trends or new wishes from our guests.
Thanks for that. As time is running tremendously fast, it's unbelievable. So I'm still sticking with my question number 2, and the hour is somewhat gone. We have only some minutes left. So the last round is coming. 3 commendations for the audience, for our industry, how to cope and how to manage all the challenges we are doing in the hotel and retail industry. I would love to start with Thorsten. If you want to give 3 commendations to the audience, how to have a sunny and, let's say, bright future for the industry, what are they?
Let me think about it. No, I'm kidding. So first of all, as we're talking about, or we talked a lot of multifunctional concepts, I would say towards investors and owners of shopping centers, look more and more towards multifunctional concepts in order to have long-term success with your product, with your investments. If we talk about hotels, integrating hotels, of course, you have to look for the right hotel partners who can help you to bring benefits together and to cooperate good together. And of course, this is my personal advice, look for the right partner to help you bringing all these aspects together. It's not just finding the right partners, it's also the technical aspects you have to have in mind, and you need to, and we were talking about KPIs, beside the KPIs that are in focus at the operators, the investors have different KPIs, and look for a partner who can help you all bringing these interests together. We could, for example, be the right partner, not only for the own portfolio.
Okay, super. If you make 3 commendations as short as possible, because time is running. Yeah. Christian, what are your 3 commendations for us? With your 3 heads.
Think different. Stop out thinking out of the box. Think about what could be a generator that makes your real estate investment successful. Means for me, focus on that, what the key aspects is making the location successful, and what could be the addings on to make it more successful. Which means, as Thorsten said, look for the right partners. It's not always the big ones. It could be those ones who make the other investments, in addition, more profitable as well.
Super. Thanks for that. Elena?
So I'll try to keep it short. I would definitely also agree with Thorsten, focus on mixed use and flexibility. So in case of vacancies, maybe you can repurpose space easier. Focus on convenience, because time is precious in this busy world and no one wants to queue, be it in a hotel or in a shopping center. So find clever solutions for that. And the third one is probably address the need for unique and personalized experience, because that I think applies to both hotel and real estate. Maybe even use or leverage technology to better understand your guests and customers.
Super. And the last words from Andreas, who wants to provide our industry with lots of new nice hotels wherever they are. Is it the case?
Yes, of course it is. It is, yes. And my 3 points are basically, again, the mixed use, but maybe also from an angle from a real estate point of view, to really optimize the space. 1 + 1 maybe is not 2, but even more. So that can be a good approach. Looking at the concepts, I would think the experience element is important. So we don't call it shopping centers, we call it shopping experience within our company here, and we've also got hotel experience. So creating an experience is important. And then last but not least, looking at it from a holistic approach, not only looking at both real estate types, also learning from each other, even maybe creating common or comparable KPIs, see how certain contractual clauses are formulated. So there is a lot we can explore here in this field.
Couldn't have said this better. So that was a fabulous, fantastic round. Thanks for this discussion. We are absolutely in time. So I wish you lots of success in the future. I wish us an opportunity to follow up this discussion. And now I have to hand back to Anne for the last words.
Thank you so much for this very interesting discussion and the clear proof of how promising the collaboration between the retail and hotel industry is. To the audience, please still feel free to send across your opinions, your feedback. We will stick to this topic and also prepare a summary of this discussion. Again, thank you very much to this great group of industry experts, your insights, your time. This was excellent. And to all soccer fans, we are glad that there was no 3 p.m. game today and we could fully focus on this retail talk. So now, have a great soccer night and goodbye from Vienna.
And see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.